Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Index in-depth for the Blood Angels, probably the premier combat Space Marine chapter. The Blood Angels are battling the dark flaws within their gene seed that cause them to suffer from the red thirst and the gradual deterioration of the chapter and its warriors. Very compelling story, really exciting, dynamic faction to play, all about melee combat and getting stuck in. Blood Angels, it's worth saying, can definitely play and use the standard Gladius detachment very effectively, and I think that's likely to be very common in the early stages of 10th edition. But I wanted to make this guide today to focus specifically on the Blood Angels rules and detachment for diehard Blood Angels players, so you can have a look and see what you might get out of the army in 10th. In part 1 today, we're going to consider the army rules, detachment rules, stratagems, enhancements, all of these kinds of things. And then in part 2, I'll come back and talk through some of the best units you can use in your Blood Angels armies as you begin to get into 10th edition and see how they play. We're going to think about the faction rule. Now, Blood Angels key into the same faction rule that Space Marines more generally have, which is Oaths of Moment. You get to pick one target every battle round, and you gain full rerolls to hit and wound against it. This is a very consistently and useful tool. Very powerful, allows you to push through damage against key targets every round, especially large and valuable ones, right? The bigger this enemy target is, the more beneficial it is to be able to focus your army down on it and take it apart. So it's really good for taking out large enemy units, Primarchs, Knights, big, powerful defensive stacks. And you're going to find use out of this every turn, and learning when and how to apply it and what units of yours get the best out of it is going to be key to making the army sing. Very useful, always nice to have. The Blood Angel specific detachment rule is the Red Thirst. This gives you +1 strength and attack on the charge. It's not subtle, but it's very effective. You're already going to be running combat units that boast a large amount of attack, so being able to amp up this output even more, get the additional strength, and again, combo this with oaths to get the rerolls to hit and to wound, even more opportunities to key off things like lethal hits, which are quite common. Is extremely useful. So this makes your combat units slap. It makes even a basic Blood Angels unit very dangerous to smaller and fragile units. You're going to simply body stuff off the board when you connect. Very nice to have, very consistently useful. In terms of enhancements, you've got a number of them here. Artisan of War gives you a 2-up save and improves the bearer's AP on weapons by 1. Very nice on a captain or a powerful melee character to make them that bit more durable, give you a little bit of extra AP, push some of the weapons to AP 3, which means you're much more likely to get damage through. I think Artisan of War is really nice. Makes a simple combat boost to a melee character. Very nice to have in an army that wants to fight. Next up is my personal favorite, which is Visage of Death. This halves the objective control characteristic of enemies within engagement range. I really like this for helping to flip objectives, bring down the OC of large, powerful targets that you're grappling with in combat, and in a prolonged engagement, it means that you're going to be able to body the primary with elite units that might not have as much OC, but punch hard and can now bring down the OC of enemies. So very nice on a combat character that's going to be taking a large squad to push the enemy off the primary. Next up, we've got probably the biggest miss in this detachment, which is the Archangel's Shard. This gives you Anti-Chaos 5-up and Lance on melee weapons for the bearer. There are other ways to get Lance. Anti-Chaos 5-up is very situational. I'm not massively sold on this one. This probably feels like a bit of a dud in the set. Finally, you've got the Icon of the Angel. This forces the enemy to take Desperate Escape sort of tests whenever they fall back from the bearer, with an additional -1 if they're already shocked. So this makes it much more likely that the enemy is going to lose units as they try to escape from your combat forces. Very nice. I think you need to sort of see the balance of where this fits in amongst the other things you want to bring. I really like Visage. I think Artisan of War is very good for souping up a character, and certainly the Icon could be very situationally useful into enemies that are trying to get out of trouble, and forcing those additional casualties in your opponent's turn is certainly very nice. A decent suite of stratagems here that help you play into what you want to do. Next up, Blood Angel stratagems. So, good toolkit here, I think, for boosting your combat potential. You have got Angel's Sacrifice. For 1 CP, when one of your characters is killed, you can proc full rerolls to hit against the unit that killed the character. Blood Angel's characters are very aggressive. They typically get stuck in and they are going to die. So being able to turn this into an efficiency boost for your unit, I think is definitely a nice tool to have, and one to try and remember, especially again if it's a large and powerful target that takes out your character and you want to counterattack next turn. This can help you to get rerolls in multiple places. You can put oath somewhere else, take the rerolls to hit from this stratagem here, so that helps you to boost the efficiency during a big go turn for your forces. Next up, we've got Aggressive Onslaught. This is a really powerful tool, allowing you to consolidate 6 inches after you fought, as long as you end up in engagement range. With a combat army like Blood Angels, the opponent is very typically going to try and put stuff in the way. Screens, chaff, less important things, and you're often hoping to get into and tag valuable shooting units or important units behind their front lines. So being able to charge into something, annihilate it, and then with a 6-inch consolidate, push through and tag stuff behind it is really, really nice. It's also very funny on a Death Company Dreadnought who can push through something, tag it, then fight again when he's attacked. Very, very fun when it goes off. Love Aggressive Onslaught. I think it's very useful. Next up, we've got an all-round damage boost in Red Rampage. For 1 CP, you can gain Lance, so +1 to wound on the charge, and lethal hits in melee. This combat combos massively well with oaths at the moment, where all those rerolled hits give you more chances to get auto-wounding lethal hits through, and all of the oaths rerolls are really nice once you've got a boosted wounding capacity as well. Super good on Death Company or Sanguinary Guard, anything that already hits hard at a decent strength. Red Rampage is really, really nice, and I can see you using it a lot. Next up, we've got a defensive boost in Armour of Contempt. This is very simple. When you're being shot or fought, you can proc -1 AP when you're being attacked. Very useful, especially in a world where cover is very generous, effectively nullifying AP all the way down, so that AP 1 and 2 is almost non-existent into your elite armored unit. It's best on 2-up saves, so Terminators, Land Raiders, Centurions all absolutely love this, but it's definitely going to help the durability of 3-up saves as well. Armour of Contempt is very, very flexible and useful, and it will make life difficult for the opponent as they try and clear you off of points. Our most expensive stratagem here is Only in Death Does Duty End. This is a 2 CP stratagem offering full fight on death in combat. This is great if the opponent wants to trade in combat with you because you simply take their units down with you. Very, very nice if they're attacking you somewhere and you've got a big, powerful combat unit to make sure that it does damage and the opponent suffers a significant cost in their turn. It's expensive, so you need to save and plan for it, but I think Only in Death Does Duty End is really nice because full fight on death is a little bit rarer now. Very, very powerful on your big combat units to make sure they take their pound of flesh before they go. Finally, we've got Relentless Assault. Very straightforward, 1 CP, you gain the ability to fall back and charge. Other armies can get fallback, shoot, and charge for 1 CP, so I'm a little sad to see that Blood Angels can't shoot with this as well. But fallback and charge is massive on fast, speedy combat units. Being able to start a ruckus, tie the opponent down, and then in your turn, get out and go and counterattack somewhere else means that they are always vulnerable to losing units behind the front lines or losing units on sort of exposed or vulnerable objectives. So I think, again, one that in the right moments is going to be very, very important in your games. All in all, I think it's a good set of stratagems. There's nothing game-breaking here, but everything in here makes you better at what you want to do, which is get stuck in, fight, and tear a huge hole out of the enemy in combat. And they're all, priced well, and I think you're going to be able to get use out of every single one of them, which is a nice place to be. Thank you very much for watching this guide to the Blood Angels. I'm really excited to play my Flesh Tearers, especially a little more going forwards, and I'll be reporting on my adventures on the 6++ channel. We here at 6++ are continuing to review and make index guides for literally every single index that's been released, so you can follow and find these on the channel now. We've got ones just coming out for Imperial Knights and Chaos Demons, courtesy of Lewis and Franco. I've just recorded the Eldari Index, Part 1. So there's going to be a whole bunch of different videos available. We also do very regular podcast content. That 6++ show records on a Tuesday night at 8:30 UK time, so you can see us there chatting about all things 40k. And we're hoping to get some of our first bat reps of 10th edition done in the next few weeks as well. We really appreciate your support. Please do hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment and let me know. I know it's a little tricky out there for Blood Angels right now in a very shooty heavy world, but I'd love to hear about your adventures with the faction, hear about what you kind of units and strategies have been working for you. And of course, I'll be back in part 2 to talk about some of the units I've been enjoying in my Blood Angels adventures. See you again soon. Bye-bye.